What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambo. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay here to talk Packers as we are a balmy 4 degrees down here right now, Tim. I can't imagine what you guys are sitting at the moment.
It's what do you mean? We got a heat wave coming in. Let's see. It's 7 here right now, man. What are you talking about? We might hit 20 degrees today, man.
So we're a little bit colder than you right now. I've seen everybody on our Facebook neighborhood chat going, "Hey, I ain't got no water." I went, "Oh no." I turned that faucet on and I went, "Oh yeah, we got water. We're good. We're good to go." So
crazy to think it's colder in Tennessee than it is in Titletown right now.
Yeah, and seeing all the beaches down south too, frozen up, and snow everywhere is just wild to think about too. But here we are, right?
Yep.
Everybody filing into the chat, appreciate you. We got Biz in the house, Joyce Martha, Josh Martin, Mountain Man Pack, Jason Y, Josh Valanningham. Let's see, Josh Martin, Chris N, Andy Watkins, Matthew Love, Drew D in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Anthony in the house. Everybody filing in here. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. If you would hit that like button on the way in. Let's start with the Patreon group here. Tim, comment that Trevor made the other day. I'm going to go ahead and mark it red now. He said, "Hey, Clayton, I'm the one that brought up the ref salary. Refs are still part-time because they don't get health benefits and don't work 40 hours per week. Part-time is more about logistics than them getting the bag, making more than a practice squad player." It's pretty wild to think about that they're considered part-time because they don't have insurance, even though they're making over 6 figures. Pretty wild to think about for sure. So would be a bad gig, Tim, working less than 40 hours a week and make a 6-figure income. Not bad, right?
Yeah. Not too bad. Not too shabby. I don't know if them being full-time would make a difference in how terrible they are, though. Let's be real.
It's kind of like president too. You're really getting paid to be hated. You know what I mean? That's pretty much how that works. So.
Yep. It's a lose-lose situation.
We always find ourselves going, don't we have a better candidate than these two knuckleheads? But I don't think many people are lining up to do the job, to be honest with you. At least the smart people, they're living on a beach somewhere, right? That's what they're doing. So Anyway, if you guys hear hacking in the background, my dog Nishki's upset that Mandy isn't here. So he's not a happy camper right now. He's just kind of hanging out. So he'll get over it. Next question. Randy Cleavers says, "Do you think Ja is on the Packers roster this year?" And I'm going to close out Patreon real quick. Appreciate the questions. Randy, we're going to ride off of your question here about Jaire Alexander, and I'll show you why. As rumors are starting to swirl, and listen, they may just be rumors, but we're going to lead off with this. And I understand this account that I'm going to share is very controversial. It's called NFL Rumors at NFL Room. There's some people that think it's just absolute garbage. None of this stuff's true. I've seen several things come true from this account. It doesn't mean that they have great sources, but they've definitely got somebody that makes them think this could be this case. It says NFL Rumors, the Chargers and the Ravens are expected to have interest in Packers Jaire Alexander. Reality is the entire league could probably have interest in Jaire Alexander to a certain extent. It all depends on the price, right? So what we're going to do is kind of dive into some trade comps. Tim, when we talk Jaire Alexander and potentially being traded, majority of the people think you're going to get a haul for him. Now, you guys know where I stand. You got a guy who's faced a lot of injuries. He also got suspended by the team. All those things, if you think they're not going to make it to the negotiating table, if there comes a time that Jaire Alexander is dealt, and just to be completely transparent, I'm still at 50-50. I think there's a 50% shot that Jaire returns to the Packers. Are you still at that point too, Tim? Is that how you feel? Okay. Yep. So the only way to build a trade comp comparison is to look at the other players at those positions who have been traded, right? So let's take a look real quick. Let's see as far as NFL transactions. So let's close that out for a second. I'm going to show you the most recent transactions in the NFL and exactly who got traded at the cornerback position. So right off the bat, cornerback Tre'Davious White. All right, you guys remember he used to be a stud in the league. He's obviously dropped off as he's gotten older. Tre'Davious White was traded to the Los Angeles Rams for a 7th-round pick. All right, now you go, okay, how does that comp work out, Clayton? Tre'Davious White, if you look at his play time, he actually played in 2024 445 snaps. His PFF grade was a 53.6. All right, so that's where he graded out at. Tre'Davious White's 5'11", 192, 4.4 speed. He was a former first-round pick. and he is 30 years old, so he's a couple years older than Jair. So you definitely think the Packers could get more than what Baltimore got for, or I'm sorry, let's see, he plays for Baltimore, right? Yeah. So the Rams got a 7th-round pick, and Baltimore, they actually did a pick swap too, Tim. So they gave up a 7th-round pick next year. They kind of pick swapped the same round pick of a 7th-rounder to acquire him as well. So again, you're looking at less than 1 round of value in that player, right? Again, it's Tre'Davious White. We're not saying that is Jair Alexander. Now, Jair Alexander this year played only 361 snaps, all right? And his grade was a 75.2. He's going to be 28 years old here in another month or so. 4.3 speed. He also was a first-round pick. So let's move along to the next one here. The next trade comp is Marshawn Lattimore, okay? So Marshawn Lattimore was acquired by Washington they got Marshawn Lattimore and a 5th-round pick, and the Saints got in return a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th-rounder in this upcoming draft. Okay, so they gave up a 3rd, 4th, and 6th along with the 5th, right, is how that trade fell into place. So Marshawn Lattimore, how does he stack up against Jair Alexander? Let's see, 2024, he played 626 snaps. So, again, Jair played 361, so he played almost double the snaps. His PFF grade this year was only a 61.1, so, Jair played better than him, at least according to PFF, right, in that regard. And Marshawn Lattimore is actually 28 years old. This seems like a much closer comp than Tre'Davious White. Do you agree with that?
I think so. I think multiple picks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we're going to get a 3rd for Jair, but I could see 4, 5, and 6 or something like that.
Right. And if you combine a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th together, it probably comes to about a 2nd-round talent. Now, we'd have to look at the chart. Maybe it's not quite that high. Maybe you get into the back side of the 2nd round. But again, they probably want to hang on to that 2nd-rounder for some reason. They got a prospect that they really like, or they think they can get good value there. That would be why you would hold on to that, right?
Yeah.
But again, so far, that to me is the closest comp there.
That would be something to watch with this Chargers rumor. If they start floating around 3rd-round draft pick, proposal, it might have some serious legs. Yep.
So the next one, as we go down, let's find the next cornerback that was recently traded, and let's see what kind of comp we have there. We'll just do 3 and then call it good enough. These are the most recent corners that were traded. All right, you got Elijah Molden. All right. So Tennessee got a 7th-round pick for Elijah Molden. So here's another corner that was traded for a 7th-round pick. Now, Elijah Molden, let's look at the snap count first and foremost. He played 761 snaps. So he played way more than double the snaps than Jair did. And his PFF grade is a 75.6 in 2024. So that's a closer grade comp, right? But big name factor, definitely not, right? He was a 3rd-round selection. He's only 25 years old, so he's younger than Jair. He had right about the same grade this year, according to PFF, and he played more than double the snaps of Jair Alexander, and they only got a 7th-round pick for him. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's one that kind of sways it back in the opposite direction a little bit. So the whole purpose of doing this was just to kind of show some of the more recent comps and go, okay, which one kind of lines up with what we think they would get? I think it's going to be between a 7th-rounder and this haul right here. So if that were the case, what would you think? Maybe a 4th-round pick right in the middle somewhere?
That's kind of where I'm at, yeah. I think a 3rd would be great. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Right. And again, this isn't my opinion. This isn't me saying, here's what I think they're going to get. This is the market. You'll hear us talk all the time about the market and how, the market doesn't care what you think something's worth, right? If you try to sell a house, I use this analogy all the time. I just sold a house that had a lot of sentimental value to me. I would love to have gotten $700K for that house, right? That would have been great. Problem is, it ain't nowhere near worth $700K. It's only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And these are the comps that you got across the league. Now, the main two things that come into play is the caliber of player. We know the kind of player Jair can be. Then you've got availability, which is the injury concern, where he played less than half of those snaps of the guy that went for a 7th-round pick. And then you got the accountability aspect. When they go to trade for him, if they do trade, and again, I'm not sold on the Packers are going to trade him, but if they go to trade Jair Alexander, you can bet your sweet keister that when they sit down at that table, they're going to go, hold up a minute, but you want us to give you a 2nd-round pick for a player who played 300 snaps and you had to suspend from your team? That's bad luck. You know what I mean? Don't think it'll happen. So Drew D says, you think we get less for Jair than Rasul? You know, that's the thing. When Goody talked about the Sewell trade, and thank you for pulling that up, Tim. I think it's a great question. You remember Goody said they didn't plan on trading him, but there comes a point where the offer is too good to pass up on. So in that case, Goody felt like they overpaid to get Rasul, right? Now, me and Tim probably disagreed that first year. I think we would agree on that, right, Tim? It's like, boy, sure could have used Rasul, right? But Goody, obviously, for him to say it was too good to pass up on, he probably felt like it wasn't worth it to trade him for a 4th-rounder, right? So that's kind of where you're at right now with Jai as well, I would imagine. So I think 3rd round is a good, starting point. Like, if you were going to go trade, that you got to put yourself in the other team's shoes, and the only good trades are good for both teams, right? That's really how you got to look at it from a business standpoint. Tim, if you were going to go trade for Jair Alexander, I don't care what team you just took over as general manager of another team, right? And you're trying to put together a championship team. What would you be willing to give up for Jair Alexander based off of everything we just said? The suspension, the injury concerns. He's a great player. That comes into factor too. He may be completely healthy this year, right? What would it be worth to have a true number 1 corner if he's healthy? You got to take that into consideration too. What are you thinking, man? I know I'm putting you on the spot there, but for me, the number, I don't want to try to sway you in any way, but I'll answer while you're thinking about it. To me, that number I keep coming back with is a 3rd-round pick. Kind of feels like that'd be good for both parties, but I could be wrong.
I would agree. I would think player for player with a pick, late round pick, like a player and, 6th or 7th round, or multiple picks, like you're saying, 3 through 5 kind of scenario. With no player. So if you're going to do a 3rd round, probably, a 3rd and a 4th, or 3rd, 5th, and 6th round pick with no player. But if there's a player swap, I would think 1 draft pick, player and a pick, max.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, man. Again, as Drew said here, what did he say just a second ago? If we're just thinking a 3rd or lower, I feel like we're giving him away, and I have no interest in that. Well, now it becomes, does Jair want to be here? Right? That's the other factor. So all it takes, this is where you really lose leverage. All it takes is 1 public release of Jair telling his agent, put it out there, I want to be traded. And now that value goes down. Right? Because now everybody knows, oh boy, they got a problem in the locker room. Now it doesn't mean Goody's going to give him away, right? And we're not saying Jair is a problem in the locker room. We're just saying if that comment he made that Jason Wilde reported as they were leaving the locker room is the biggest one for me, where I'm like, damn, something's there. For him to say, I ain't got nothing nice to say, I ain't got nothing positive to say, that's not a good look on your exit interview. So that's what pushed me to the 50% mark, because I was kind of sitting at 75%. He'll be back, restructure the contract, right?
Yeah.
But it's just weird because after the suspension, he came back and looked like a different person, but then he couldn't stay on the field. And you had all the rumors swirling. Is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Obviously, he was hurt, major injury with the PCL, but that doesn't help our trade market, that's for sure. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
Yeah, very true. I'm glad John's still looking at it positively. So there you go. Wanted to hit on that this morning because it was mentioned in the Patreon group, and obviously that came across from NFL rumors there on Twitter. Again, if you don't trust that side, I completely understand. I know a lot of people don't. I'm not saying it's the gospel, but it just seems like things are starting to heat up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few days if maybe a big name media guy at least says something about it, that they're both weighing out their options or something like that. Both being obviously the Packers and Jair Alexander. So anything else you want to add to the Jair talk there?
No, it hurts my heart. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It makes me
I
sad.
understand, man. Completely understand, man. The business of football sucks. You know, many people experienced it with Brett Favre. That's why they were picketing over at 1265. I was totally in the opposite camp, to be honest with you guys. I was going, you know what, man? It's time to move on.
Yep.
That's how I felt about that.
Rodgers, who the only place he's going to take you to is the toilet bowl, and then you got Brett Favre, who will take you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about it.
And listen, when that happened too, Tim, it's wild going back down. And this is the time to do that, though, right? In the offseason, to go back down memory lane a little bit and where were we and all that. When the Brett Favre thing happened, the thing I remember is I followed the timeline really closely. And listen, Brett Favre is obviously a friend of the program. On the intro, right? Nothing but respect for Favre. He says he has regrets on how things happen, right? Yeah, and I'm sure the team does too. But when it happened, I remember the timeline and going, so he's changed his mind 3 times in this one offseason now after they chartered a flight to go pick him up and announce he was coming back. I'm done. Yeah. I know which side I'm on. Now, I was in the house. I was in Lambeau Field when Aaron Rodgers made that first start on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. Let me tell you, Tim, I wasn't sitting there going, this is the right move. I was going, boy, we may suck for a while. You know what I mean? And then he dropped back on that first play from scrimmage and hit Jennings on a damn bomb, and me and that other fan looked at each other. He looked at me and high-fived and said, Brett, who is what he said. I was like, from that point forward, it was, all right, we're on the Rodgers train, you know. But anyway, looking back on that moment there, one of the greats, obviously, in the history of the game, and Brett being traded, where were you at? Which side were you on? Did you pick a side, or did you just stay out of it?
Well, I was a Favre forever guy for the longest. But yeah, once we got down to that, I'll never forget that spring and summer. It was just like, will he play? Won't he play? And look, we empathize. We know Brett just wanted to play football. You know, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to keep playing football. I think he was struggling to make up his mind. You know, he may have had, some internal and external pressures from friends and family. You know, hey, hang it up, old man, or hey, you can still do it. Why don't you keep playing? You know, then it became, well, you know, is there a place for me to play? Oh, I'll just go back to Green Bay. They'll welcome me with open arms. And obviously Brett found out that it was indeed time to pass the torch and move on. So yeah, I was with you, man. I was definitely in that camp of let's see what the kid from California can do and take our chances. And I think it all worked out considering how crazy that time was. I mean, we did get another Super Bowl out of the deal, so I think it worked out. We did have to watch Brett in New York and Minnesota, though. That didn't go well.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to the chat real quick, and we got a few of them marked from earlier, but we'll get back into this talk. We'll get ready to move on to the next topic. Anthony in the chat earlier. Good morning. The Ben Johnson video is what my nightmares are made of. Cringy AF. It really is.
Get ready to go.
You're going to hear it all year long, baby. Blake B says, morning all. Tim, what are your thoughts on the city council approving that mini Titletown development at Ridge and Lombardi? Will it mess up the vibes of the neighborhood over there? Talk to me, Tim. You got the inside.
Ooh, I hate it. Stupid.
Oh, do you really?
Don't like it. And
what is it, Tim? What are they doing, man?
It's not a Titletown development. It's some private owner owns that lot. It's I believe it's like called the Lombardi Time lot. Basically directly across the street there on Lombardi Avenue and Ridge Road, across from the north entrance there, north end zone. Mm-hmm. There's that small lot. They basically approved a proposal for mixed use. It's going to be some apartments. It's going to be some commercial, some retail in there. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I do think it's going to kind of change the face of that neighborhood. Slowly but surely, it looks like the areas around Lambeau Field are starting to develop, and we're getting away from that classic neighborhood feel of what Lambeau Field has been for so many years. But that's what things do, right? They change. That's the one constant. So we have to kind of prepare ourselves for that. But yeah, I think it's going to change kind of the vibe and the appearance, the aesthetic of that area over there. There you go, Clay, you got it. So basically that lot right on the corner, you can kind of see it. I don't know.
Which corner? Right
Yep,
here?
right there where your cursor is. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
That's what Lottie's talking about. All right,
That
we
whole
have-
area is going to get a new look in the coming years. I believe 2026. I think they said something like
Mhm.
that. Construction.
And remind me again, what's it going to be exactly? Do we
It's
have
going to be
any-
like an office / commercial / apartments, kind of a mixed use building.
Okay.
I believe they said 4-story building
Okay.
over there on the corner, but it is a privately owned lot, and it's going to be developed privately. I don't think the Packers do not have anything to do with this at all. So
Got it.
we'll
Got it.
see.
All right. So got a development coming to a neighborhood near you there. I'm not, I guess I kind of differ a little bit. I'm not really opposed to it. 4-story building there to kind of build up around it. I'm with you too, though, man. It's just, you get so used to this, right? Just the neighborhood. It's everybody always talks about, man, you go to Lambeau and it's just right in the middle of a neighborhood, right?
Okay.
It was my first experience. Like the first time I went to a Packers game, I parked in one of these yards down here, and it was just the most unbelievable experience. The guy was like, I said this story 1,000 times. He was like, hey, you guys, park here. He showed me, he said, back in so you can get out easy in case you need to leave. He said, also, the door's unlocked. You need to use the bathroom. Come and go as you please. And I was just like, this is heaven. What is going on up here? This place is so unique. So the more you build it up and make it more commercialized, obviously it's going to be a bigger issue, right? And you said this church is now gone, right?
It's gone. Yep.
So that's now clear.
That was purchased a couple years ago, I believe, by the Packers, and then
Mhm.
the church is not gone. I believe they moved. They have a new location, and the Packers just they raised that building, and so that's all flat lot space there. I don't know what their plans are to the south there with that land right now. Those are just lots. And again, like this other development to the north is 100% private, I believe. The Packers are not involved with that.
Got it. And if you guys want to go give our good friends over at Ticket King some business and drop in over there, they're located right in here, right, Tim? Right here?
Yeah, one more block up there. Yep,
Right here?
that one. Yep, right there.
Yeah, that's the sponsor of the show there, Ticket King. They do a lot of sponsoring with us, a lot of business with us during the season. So that's when we say they're right across from Lambeau Field, we're not lying. They're right there. So there you go.
Bramble
All right.
says, "Where is Tim's house?" Never mind.
I'll show you. You guys remember where Brett Favre used to live? This is where Tim lives, over here in this huge neighborhood. Where's the airport? He lives over here in one of these real nice spots, man. One of these big houses out here. You know what I mean? So yeah, Tim's a high roller. He likes to play it low key. But so if you guys need money, just hit Tim up on Twitter. He'll hook you. There you go. You're welcome, Tim. All right, let's move back to Twitter. Actually, let's get back to the comments. Brambo says that first touchdown pass to Corey Hall from the crazy angle sold it for me. I've got that. I posted it on Twitter. You could probably comb through my Twitter and find it. I've got that filmed from the seats, and I was the opposite end zone, zoomed in with a Canon, with not with a Canon. I wasn't out there.
No, Canon was what Rogers had. That was a
Exactly.
Canon
It
shot.
was a Canon camera. Okay, let me put it that way. I wasn't out there with a Anyway, and I got it perfect. Like right between the players and everything. You can see Corey Hall lay out for it. Really, really cool shot. I need to look that up and show it on the show sometime. I also got his first rushing touchdown where he ran the quarterback sneak, spiked it, and did a Lambeau leap. That happened right in front of us in that corner of that end zone, which is really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You were at Aaron's first game. I was at his last game as a Packer.
Wow, that's wild.
Crazy.
Yeah. And Brett, I was at the game where Brett threw his 50,000th yard. I was at that game, and I was also at the game where they retired Reggie White's jersey. That's one that's a great memory for me. His number, I should say. But yeah, anyway, number one Packer fan, that multiple pick scenario is a reach in my opinion. I think a early third is good to add a player into it. You're not getting much because the other team won't know if Ja will be healthy. And here's the other thing, Tim, we didn't talk about as well is there's a decent chance too that it'll be like one of those if picks, right? Where it's like if he plays this amount of snaps, it becomes a third rounder. Sure. If he plays less than that, it may be a 6th rounder. I know many fans don't
like
like
what you mean. You're talking about the old
65%.
65%. That's what
the old 65% clause. Yeah. Okay.
And I know some fans, they don't like that, but I think that's the fairest way to do business. It's like, okay, if you get what you want to get out of them, we'll get more draft capital. If he doesn't play that certain amount of snaps, then we're going to forfeit a little bit of the haul that we would get in turn. So Blake B says, we got X, Gary, and Kenny providing the veteran leadership on defense, and Quay maybe growing into that role too. Love it. You can tell his teammates really love Quay as well. I'm eager to see this year, Tim, as he gets healthy with that ankle, and obviously going into the final year of his contract, unless they fifth-year option him. I'm eager to see how he reacts to the whole Edgerrin Cooper rise to stardom, I don't think Quay would react negatively, but a rising tide raises all ships, right? And I really think that could be the case. I think that him seeing Edgerrin Cooper be that player that we've all wanted at the linebacker position, it may raise his game a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. And I think he's going to embrace that. I don't think Quay's the kind of guy that's going to, not support his teammate. And you're right. It'll make his game better. At least I hope so, right? It would translate to the field. But off the field, the locker room stuff, like I've said this before, last year at camp, man, those two guys were attached at the hip. Edgerrin Cooper was not able to be on the field a lot, but everywhere Quay went, Coop went. And they were always talking on, in between drills, in between plays. You could tell Quay was kind of taking a mentorship, leadership kind of role. And, for all we know, that had a huge impact on Edgerrin Cooper in his rookie year, because he did get a late start. And, he hit the ground running and really filled in well down the stretch, especially when Quay was out with the injury. So we'll see, man. I think it's a great point that Blake's saying here. I would love to see, like I said, Quay and Coop on the field at the same time. And, we might get that this season. Who knows?
Yep. Hopefully we do, man. Hopefully we do. But I agree on the leadership aspect there, especially with X. To me, of those three players, X is that dude that current credibility. Gary's got current credibility too, but to me, X seems like more of that true leader as opposed to Gary. Gary's that dude like when crap hits the fan, all right, yeah, let's go back here in the back alley and take care of business, right? He's that dude. Grab. X is that dude that in the heat of the battle, when things are up and down and emotional, you want him to kind of calm things down. He seems like he's got a little more of that trait. So, yeah. Blake B says both losses to the Vikings in 2009 had me down bad, talking like Gastineau. You hurt me, Brett. So, yeah, that was we had to sit through it and take our medicine, right?
You hurt me, Brett.
And if there's one thing Brett could prove, if someone doubted him, you were going to get the best out of Brett. And he obviously had a chip on his shoulder wanting to play for the Vikings. I remember that game in Minnesota, and it was like the closest thing I've ever experienced as a football fan to the way they described the Coliseum, the Roman Coliseum. Like, it was just so loud, and the energy was just like, whoa. And NFL, a dream come true for the National Football League with that matchup and the Packers going back to Minnesota. And then when he came back to Lambeau, obviously. Now, the next year, of course, Blake, we got our revenge, baby. We swept him, right? And then we ended up going on to win a Super Bowl. So
that's right.
Pretty cool. Andy Watkins in the chat says, my most memorable Rodgers game was when he played Dallas in 2007, came in for Brett. That's when everybody went, oh, okay, hold up a minute.
Yeah.
I remember Chris Collinsworth on the call. You remember that, Tim?
Here's a guy.
That's exactly right. I remember thinking, this dude can play. Holy cow. That was the first time that it really kind of connected. And that's a perfect example. Like you were talking about how Quay may handle, you think he'll handle, Edgerrin Cooper continuing to get better and becoming kind of our linebacker one. I completely agree with you. But I think Brett honestly seen that with Rodgers, and it was like, all right, this isn't fun anymore. Like having this dude breathing down my neck. And you ever hear Andrew Brandt talk about it, giving you the inside story? He said he was getting it from both angles, obviously working the front office with the Packers, that he would field a call from Aaron's agent going, hey, he's never going to quit. He's never going to retire. Trade us. Like he's never going to get to play here. And then Brett's side was calling him up going, do you know how difficult it is for Brett to know that the guy you guys are trying to replace him with, he's got to sit in the same meeting room with? Like there were problems there. It really was. But again, rising tide raises all ships. That's exactly what happened there, in my opinion. I think you got the best of Brett when he went to Minnesota to try to show the Packers up. And, of course, Aaron was trying to, fulfill that legacy for him. But we still don't know where the toilet bowl guy is, though, right? We don't know where he's at.
No, I'm not sure.
Man, that's an all-time great, no doubt about it. Drew D, the land of soap products was sold for $1.16 million, but their new building blew down in a storm. So there has been a delay in the moving out. What is he talking about? I seen that and was like, I got to put that on the screen. What conversation?
Actually, there's an update to that. I believe they're in their new building now, and they are out. I believe that that is finito. That is finished. Soap products, a little soap building next to the Clark Hinkle Field, next to, just south of the Hudson Center kind of area, practice facility between Nitschke Field and Clark Hinkle Field, basically, over there.
Chris N says County Stadium smelled like stale beer 24/7. Is that true?
That was piss, Chris. Piss 24/7, not stale beer.
This was hot. I know this. It's not stale beer, but every time I've ever gone to Lambeau Field, as soon as I walk in, I smell that beer. I smell that. It's just like
beer and cheese curds, baby,
and brats, right? It's just like, this is it, man. This is the life.
That's the best part. Is it's like you're not even into Lambeau Field. You're just making the walk over, and you smell the grills and the smokers and the brats and all the food before you even get inside. It's awesome. But yeah, County Stadium did smell like stale beer and piss 24/7 for sure.
Speaking of reeking of piss, the Lions have got another coach that's about to leave here. I said another coach leaving the Detroit Lions poverty franchise. Every time you hear me say poverty franchise, I'm using another Lions fans line against them, calling the Packers a poverty franchise. So we're just showing how everybody seems to be jumping ship now. Lions defensive line coach, according to Adam Schefter, Lions defensive line coach Terrell Williams, who worked with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee from 2018 to 2023, is leaving Detroit to become the Patriots defensive coordinator, sources tell Mike Reese and me. Vrabel thought so highly of Williams that he had him serve as head coach of the Titans 2023 preseason opener. Lions are losing another assistant coach. So, Tim, obviously it's not just the OC and the DC that sounds like they're leaving, as Aaron Glenn, to the best of my knowledge, is the front runner for the Jets job. He's going to have to Dan Campbell's going to have to replace a bunch of position coaches as well, man, because here's the thing, too. If Aaron Glenn gets that job with the Jets, guess what? He's going to be taking other assistant coaches, other position coaches with him. So this is the Lions are finally getting to experience what it's like to be at the top of the hill. And these are the things that Matt LaFleur has had to deal with since 2020, right? Constantly replacing these assistants and these DCs and these OCs. And then, of course, trying to find the right DCs, constantly having to shuffle things up. And the fact that Matt LaFleur is still one of the all-time winningest coaches in NFL history is, I'm telling you, man, he's underrated still. But Lions are about to feel what it's like, too.
Yeah, for sure. In those days of like building your staff and keeping the staff around for your tenure as head coach, I mean, those days are over. As soon as you put together a good staff, this is what happens, right? Guys get poached. They get offered promotions. You can't block a promotion, right? We talked about that. You can only block a lateral move. So it's tough for a head coach in today's NFL to really, keep that glue holding all those pieces together for more than, 1 to maybe 2 or 3 seasons. And you're going to have coaching turnover. You're going to have changes. But yeah, that's going to be interesting for Detroit. It's got to be foreign territory for them to have this happen. So I guess we're going to find out just how good of a coach Dan Campbell really is based on how he figures out, his way through this, navigates the current, and is able to put another staff together for next season. I don't think Detroit's going to look super different, but they're going to look different. New OC, new DC, different position coaches. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you got Ari Miroff with the tweet here as well. Well, first of all, Josh Martin says Jets offered Glenn the job. So that is official, it sounds like. They did offer him the job. We'll see if he accepts.
Get ready to go.
All right. Ari Miroff on Twitter put a series of tweets out here, obviously talking about Terrell Williams. Let me just make sure we didn't overlook anything here, Tim. As it says, the Lions coaching staff is getting picked apart. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is bound for Chicago. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn is on track to join the Jets. And defensive line coach Terrell Williams is heading to New England. Johnson and Glenn may also take assistants with them, leaving Campbell with a significant task to reshape his staff. I mean, think about this. If they take coaches from within the building, and they won't take them all, right? Like, it comes a point where whether you love each other or not there within the organization as a coaching staff, there comes a point where you go, yeah, that guy that's at the bottom of the coaching ranks with Detroit is nowhere near this dude who used to be a former DC or a former OC, right? But I think there's a good chance that Terrell Williams is not the last one to leave there. You'll probably have one or maybe two more position coaches that gets poached out of the Lions organization as well. So, yeah, kind of what just goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about. And I think it's important to keep our finger on the pulse with these things because we're going to see just how good of a coach Dan Campbell is, right? Because he's about to lose these guys. You know, like I think Antoine Randall, I've mentioned him a lot. Somebody needs to fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure he's the wide receiver coach for the Lions. I would imagine he would be promoted to OC by Dan Campbell, or one of those assistants would try to poach him because the wide receiver core, the job he did with that wide receiver core there with the Lions, I think has been really, really impressive, right? So,
you are correct. Fact check.
Yeah, that's what I would if I was Dan Campbell looking in his organization now that Ben Johnson's gone, I would go to Antoine Randall right away and go, hey, I want you to be my OC. Please, please, please give me a chance to beat anyone else's OC money that offers you the job. You know,
get ready to go.
So, obviously, if he promotes him to OC, then that prevents that lateral move unless someone makes him the assistant head coach as well. So, and that could be the case. But nonetheless, Lions are getting weaker by the minute, and I'm here for it. It's going to be fun year. So, the Beard put a tweet out earlier today, and sometimes when we say that, we got to be careful here because the Beard gets a little loose on the old Twitter bird sometimes. But this one I thought was really interesting. We kind of talked about it earlier in the year. We were talking Aaron Rodgers earlier as, you know, most of us are awaiting him to announce his retirement. Some think he'll still play. We'll see. He said, this is crazy. We literally listen to the media and decide who's good. It's just stupid, right? And here is a tweet that was put out by Aaron Rodgers Daily. Follow him at A-Rod Daily. Down years for me are career years for most quarterbacks. People rolled their eyes when he said that. MVP candidate this year, right? Josh Allen, 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 63.5% completion percentage. Quote, best in the league, MVP, right? Aaron Rodgers this year with the Jets and no real head coach, let's be honest, right? They completely demolished that coaching staff midseason. 3,897 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 63% completion percentage. He's washed, needs to retire. The perspective there, Tim, is pretty wild. Now, listen, Josh Allen does a lot with his legs, too. That needs to be mentioned. But as a passer, again, Aaron didn't have a bad year. He really didn't, man, especially with the talent that was around him, you know, and in terms of that organization just once again being a dumpster fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, proves that even a down year for Aaron Rodgers is still light years ahead of, you know, 90% of the quarterback play in the league, as you see here, comparing just these numbers. And you're right, we're not taking into account, you know, Josh Allen's rushing yards and things like that. But it's a legitimate point. I would tend to agree. Seems kind of interesting when you look at it this way.
Yeah, I think so too, man. All right, so there's that. I think we're all caught up on Twitter. So we're pretty much got everything in the bag that I wanted to cover here on the show, Tim. Is there anything you want to hit on before we get ready to move on to anything else? And I'm trying to think.
We get ready to go.
Get ready to go.
What is it? So we hit the trade comps, right? I think we settled in. It could be, I don't expect anything higher than a 3rd round pick. It could be as low as a conditional 7th. If he plays a bunch of snaps, maybe it jumps to a 4th. So probably somewhere between, again, 3rd round pick is what I would put on Jair Alexander's trade value. We'll see, though. There may be a team that just absolutely loves him, right? But I'm glad we did those comps for sure. Just to, again, we don't want to run things through the filter of, I'm trying to say here, through the filter of emotion. We want to run it through the filter of precedent, right?
Right.
So.
And let's hope that that's the case. Maybe there is a team out there that's, you know, in love with Ja and wants to, you know, work out something sweet for us, because to me that would, you know, as a Jair fan, I'd feel a lot better about the trade, you know, if it does happen, if it's not just some, oh my gosh, we got to get him out of here and we'll take whatever. If someone's really interested in Ja and Goody can, you know, do what Goody does and cook, you know, you never know, this could turn out, you know, beneficial for both sides in the long run. So
yeah,
I'd like him to stay. I still feel like we need depth at corner, even if Ja is a Packer and he is healthy next year. So time will tell. We'll just have to see how the rumor mill swings, you know?
Mhm. And as we get ready to wrap up here, we're at the 40-minute mark. Why don't we take a quick reminder of the PFF grades from this year, of our team as a whole? Because, in the emotion of losing tough games there at the end, sometimes we get all caught up in a player's worse than we think he is or isn't, right? Let's just run through them real quick, okay? On offense, this is the season grades. Josh Jacobs finishes the year 92.3 overall offensive grade. Zach Tom, 1,134 snaps. PFF grade 85.8.
Pay that man, Goody. Pay him now.
Pay that man his monies, right? Third on the team, this will surprise a lot of people. Only 274 snaps, but guys, that's not a small sample size, right? I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of snaps. Emmanuel Wilson, 82.9.
Here's the guy.
And I know there's some fans ready to run Jordan Love out of town, but he finished the year with a 75.8 PFF grade. All right. Not bad at all. Andre Dillard, only 13 snaps. Throw it out with the bathwater, right, Tim? We're not even going to talk about it.
Yep.
Jaden Reed, 719 snaps, finished with a 71.2. You guys remember there about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had knuckleheads on Twitter tweeting stuff out going, my God, the Jaden Reed decline needs to be studied. 71.7. His numbers increased across the board other than touchdown catches where he fell too shy last year. Oh, by the way, his targets went down by like 20, I think. So Jaden Reed's just fine, ladies and gentlemen. And he also battled that injury that we've seen. Didn't he sustain an injury on a jet sweep? Am I thinking right, Tim?
Sure did.
Yeah, so
Sure
keep
did.
that in mind. Next on the list in the 7th spot, Malik Willis at a 70.3.
Here's the guy.
217 snaps. Listen, don't be surprised if you hear some trade market heat up for Malik Willis this year. You guys know how I feel about it, man. I think it's very important to have a good backup quarterback if you're really competing for a title. So it's probably going to take a first or a second round pick for me to get to trade Malik Willis. Will Goody do it, though? That's the other question. I could see Goody flipping a 7th for a 3rd or a 7th for a 4th, right? I'm not rolling it out. But if it's anything less than a second round pick, Tim, I want Malik Willis as my backup quarterback. I don't know how you feel, man.
I feel the same way. I feel the exact same way. However, we also know the writing's on the wall. He could probably go somewhere and start in this league. So, if you're a Malik Willis fan, you want to, you don't want to block a promotion, but you do want the guy. You do want the guy in your locker room as much as possible. You talk about reliable backup quarterback play. That's what you're getting with him.
Yeah, definitely. Drew D says he also got injured on a punt return as well. I think he was talking about Jaden Reed, so that's good information there too. It's like your best wide receiver. I don't know if he should be back there returning punts. That's just me. But I maybe Bo Melton just doesn't have the skill set or the mindset to do it. But he's the one that always comes to mind for me, Tim. Like, I'd like to see Bo try to return kicks.
Yep,
I
agree.
But I could be wrong there. Next on the list, number 8 spot with a 69.7 on 695 snaps is Romeo Dobbs, 69.7, 8th highest grade.
I just caught the ball.
That's correct, Romes. Number 9, right behind him, Christian Watson, 69.1, played in 15 games, had 554 snaps on the year. Again, a 60.
On my knee.
Christian Watson averaged, I think, over 20 yards a catch, something crazy like that. If I remember correctly on NFL Pro, you guys fact check me on that. It might have been a different metric I was looking at, but I think it was 20 yards per reception, if I remember correctly, which was just it was absolutely crazy. That's not yards per attempt, or yards per target. That was yards per catch, I believe. Next, Rasheed Walker, Tim. This dude, man, I would love to see him in the 70s or 80s, but the fact that he stabilized at a 68.6 with an 80.1 pass blocking grade, Rasheed Walker at left tackle, 1,139 snaps. Love it, man. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, man. Talk about hitting on a draft pick, right? Holy cow.
Yeah, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Next, Tucker Kraft is all the way up to a 67.8 on 987 snaps. So Tucker really turned it on there toward the end of the year, no doubt about it. He started off in the 50s. I remember like the first quarter of the season, we're like, he's grading out in the 50s, but he looks pretty good on the field, right? He's actually having production, especially with yak and things like that, his catch percentage, all that. But obviously the PFF grade caught up by the end of the year, which is cool. We'll go rapid fire here for the rest of the offense. Chris Brooks, 65.6 on 199 snaps. Elton Jenkins, 65.5. Dontavion Wicks, 65.1. Bo Melton, 63. Malik Heath, 62. Andrew Beck, fullback, only 15 snaps, but a 62. Sean Ryan finishes the year at a 61. I remember when he was in the 50s consistently, right? So this was an improvement for Sean Ryan. But again, I don't think Sean Ryan gets a contract extension next year. That's just me personally. I think you'll let him play that out, let him test the market. If the price is right, you might bring him back. There's some people that are way more excited about Sean Ryan than I am. I do think he outperformed what I expected him to this year, though. Tim, do you agree with that with Sean Ryan? Do you think he had a good year considering all things considered?
I do. Good, not great, right?
Right.
A good year and showing improvement, you know. I think you're right about the contract. I think they're going to let him test the market.
Yeah. And obviously he was competing with a first-round pick there, Jordan Morgan, for that right guard spot all camp long. And Jordan Morgan battled that shoulder injury all year long. It obviously was never healthy because he re-injured it again. Only finished the year with 186 snaps and had to go on IR. His grade was a 59.2. But again, battling an injury like that, I'm eager to see what he does next year. And I think PFF did an article where they had him. They picked one player on all 32 teams that they predict to break out next year. And he was one they picked, I think, for the Packers, if I remember correctly. So that's good information there. John Fitzpatrick, we picked him up only 73 snaps, 55 was his PFF grade. Ben Sims is 54, really surprised me at 224 snaps. I didn't think he played bad, but PFF seen something that they didn't like in his game. Josh Myers, we talked about him. He took strides this year and had a couple of good games. And it was like, okay, maybe Josh is cutting the corner. Obviously, he dealt with that horrible tragedy of his father passing away during the season. I can only imagine what it's like trying to go out there and get ready for a professional football game dealing with that. But his PFF grade of 54, he's set to hit the open market unless the Packers differ and they want to re-sign him before he hits the market. But 1,067 snaps. One thing you can say about Josh Myers, Tim, he was available this year, man, even through all that mess he dealt with. But I think he's gone. How do you feel about Josh? Do you think there's a chance they bring him back for the right price, or do you think they just let him walk out outright?
If the market's super weak on him, maybe I could see it. But I don't know how big of a contract they would offer. Right, another one of those 3-year. That's really a 2-year kind of deal or something. But I don't know. I'm on the fence. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got Marshawn Lloyd, only 10 snaps. Obviously, we're not even going to mention it. Kadeem Telford played 62 snaps. He's out of 48. Luke Musgrave, 160 snaps, obviously dealt with the injury. 47 was his PFF grade. And poor Emilio, man, of all the players that he picks on this team to be that dude he's going to stand on that wall for. Travis Glover comes in dead last on offense with a 35. I don't mean to laugh. It's just that would be Emilio's
that name in my mouth right there.
You had 32 new players added to this roster. What felt like 32 new players added. The one you picked, Emilio, within his dead last. Only 41 snaps, though, right? I'm going to laugh my ass off, though, Tim, if Travis Glover comes back next year, competes, wins a starting job, and he's just a dog. It'd be hilarious.
Right? He takes over left guard. Elton goes to center.
Exactly. Oh, man. I'm not putting any money on it, but you never know, right? You never know. Edda is not amused. She just yawned at me like, really? You think he's going to do a good job? All right, that's it. Just wanted to hit on those a little bit, obviously, before we wrap up. We'll do the defensive PFF grades, a little recap for the night show. Let me just make a note here, defense PFF. So when we kick off for the night show for PTA Live at 7 p.m. Central tonight, we'll start with the defensive PFF grades. And then we'll dive back into looking at draft prospects, things like that. If any other coaching news breaks, we're kind of in that coaching cycle right now, right? As in January 22nd. And Tim, I appreciate you putting the ticker together for us. If you guys notice on the bottom scrolling are the important dates of the offseason. Let's let it run through once right now. And let's just talk about them real quick. And this isn't all the dates, but this is most of the most important ones, okay? So February 1st is going to be the Senior Bowl, right? That's right around the corner. That's where you're going to get a look at some of these college prospects going into the NFL draft. February 2nd will be the Pro Bowl games. February 9th will be the Super Bowl. February 18th, the teams may designate franchise or transition players. So the franchise tags will get rolled out, started on February 18th. They have like a week to do that, I think. February 20th, in my opinion, is the Packers contract restructure period there. Okay. So that's when you're going to see them start to throw those restructures in place. February 24th through March 3rd is the NFL Scouting Combine. So that's right around the corner. March 4th, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, is the deadline for teams to designate the franchise or transition players. So it's a little bit longer period than I had originally thought. March 10th, free agency negotiation period begins. March 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern New York time, is the beginning of the new 2025 league year and free agent signing period, so they can officially sign those contracts. You got like a 2-day tampering period there that teams can reach out to players. And then March 30th through April 2nd is the annual league meeting, and then we'll update it later with the April dates there as we go along. So again, the big dates for me, Tim, right now we're in kind of that coaching phase, right? Everybody, all the coaches are getting shuffled around, this and that. Another date too with like re-signing. Some people are going, well, some of these players that we may bring back that are set to be free agents, when will that happen? I think what will happen with Goody is the players that he's already re-signed that won't hit the market, they're already there, right? So the restructure, look around the 20th for it to start. I think it typically happens about the 25th of February is when Goody likes to restructure these contracts and free up some cap space, whether you want to use it in free agency this year or just roll that over into the next year and kind of trade cash for cap, right? Cash over cap is essentially what you're doing. Or cap, yeah, cash over cap. Let me see here. Cap over cash. It sounds like a tax return commercial, doesn't it, Tim? H&R Block. Sponsor the show, by the way. But essentially what you're doing is you're converting base salary, unguaranteed money to guaranteed money, and in trading that with the player, you're freeing up some cap space. So that's how that works. And as far as the re-signing, the most recent player that comes to mind for me, Tim, was Keyshawn Nixon. You guys remember he was kind of set to be a free agent, and they got the deal done on March 13th. So It kind of happens as free agency kicks off. I don't expect any other players to kind of be re-signed. I could be wrong. I think everybody who's not re-signed will kind of get a chance to dip their toe in the free agent market and then expect something there somewhere between, like I said, March 10th through March 15th, around that time. So the big date I'm looking forward to is February 20th, though. I want to see these restructures, how much cap we free up. That'll probably give you a little bit of a tip on how aggressive Goody's going to be in free agency. So anything else you want to hit on, man?
No, I think that covers it. Just about a month away from that target date, right? A little less.
Absolutely. Rob Westerman dropping in. Appreciate you, Rob. Good morning to you, buddy. Looking forward to any content you put out today, man. And hopefully you have a great day. Stay warm up there. Hope the family's doing wonderful. Number one Packer fan says, if you don't boil your brats in beer with peppers and onions before putting them on the grill, what are you doing with your life? Agree to that. Now, let me explain something else you can do, too. If you like hot dogs, Tim, I know you love brats, I'm sure. You like hot dogs?
Yeah, I'll do a good hot dog. It's got to be a good one, though.
Here's how I do my Nathan's. Nathan's hot dogs are the best in the world.
There you go.
Sponsor the show. I would say Ballpark Franks are the best that they sponsor the show, but Nathan's are the best. What I like to do is put them in a casserole dish and cover them with beer, right? Just where they're barely filled up. Put them in the oven and slow cook them and let them swell up with that beer. Then take them out, put them on that hot dog bun, hit them with a little sharp cheddar on top, and put it under the broiler, toast that bun and melt it all together. Bro, that's how you get this double chin right here. That's how you pull that off. So, as your tip of the day, go grab you a Nathan. But again, nowhere near brats. That's for sure. Brats are the man. Rob Westman says, appreciate the kind words, fellas. Non-Packers related, rather have below zero weather or 90+ degree weather. I'm below zero, to be honest with you. I can't stand. I hate the heat. Tim, you probably disagree, don't you?
No, I'm actually kind of with you. I don't like the heat either. It all depends though. Is it 90 degree dry heat, or is it like hot, muggy, humid, disgusting? You could drink the air 90 degrees. Then I'm not a fan. I'll take the below zero. My wife would totally disagree. She's from the deep south. She loves the hotter, the more humid, the better for her. I don't understand it, but I think I'm with you, Clay. I'd rather take the cold than the super hot.
That's how Mandy is too. It looks like the majority of the people here are saying they want the heat, but they're all from Wisconsin, right? They're about tired of the cold, I'm sure. But yeah, Mandy's the same way. She's trying to get me to go to Bimini, I think is what it's called right now, somewhere down in the Bahamas. She's like, let's just go. Let's take a ferry over there real quick, spend the weekend. And I'm going, why don't we just go up to 1919 Kitchen and Tap and hang out for a couple of days? I'd rather go up there with -5 degrees and battle the heat down there in the Bahamas. But that's just me.
She's just thinking about what she's going to have to deal with if you go there, though. Having to pick you up off the floor after you pass out from too many cheese curds or something.
Yeah, the last time we went, man, setting up reservations over there at the Hotel Northland with the Walnut Room. And Clayton got a little crazy with the old fashions in there at night, man. We classed up that joint, and the next thing I remember, we're waiting on an Uber, and we're in the lobby where they got the Lombardi bronze fedora or whatever kind of hat it was he wore up there on the handrail. And she's nudging me in the shoulder. I'm like, what? She's like, our Uber's here. I fell asleep on the couch in the lobby after eating at the Walnut Room because I had too many old fashions. So I'm getting old. It is what it is. Drew D.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Drew D says, wash your hands, wash your butt. Drew D says, Clayton, you have to try Salmon's hot dog. It's a company, not a fish. Okay, interesting. I'll try to look that up, man. See if I can get some delivered here to the house. I'm willing to try anything new. It's funny you said that because anybody here in East Tennessee knows in Elizabethton, hometown of Jason Witten and Charles Davis lived there for a little bit, I believe. They got a place called Salmon's, Sammons, which is a hot dog drive-through place that's just locally owned, and they are amazing hot dogs. But I'll have to try that, man. I'll look that up. Salmon's. Shoot me a DM, Drew, with like a link to their site or something. Make sure I get the right one, and we'll have some ordered. I'll give you a review on that, man. So Emilio says, I'm laying stripes in 90-degree weather. Emilio, you ain't laying stripes nowhere, but you listen. I told you before, you lie to your friends, I'll lie to mine. Let's don't lie to each other. All right. We know you ain't out there working. You kidding me? You're driving around with that new dump trailer like you're hot craps. What you're doing? You ain't got nothing in the back of it. You just cruising the strip, Cumberland Avenue right now, beeping at everybody, honking. Right?
Oh, we're gonna give him some.
Damn right, Brett. All right, we're out of here, guys. We'll see y'all tonight, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll go over the season-ending PFF defensive grades for the Packers, and then we'll dive into some more draft prospects. Everybody have a great day. Stay warm out there. We'll see.
There we go.
Bye, guys.